What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV. And it is my favorite time of the year, and it is also the time of the year that I get inundated with texts from my students' parents wanting to know what they can buy their kids for Christmas. So instead of having to individually deal with each one of those texts, I'm going to make this video, and I'm going to give you my suggestions, my parents' guide to buying Christmas gifts for a drummer. But first, I would like to show you a whole bunch of merchandise that would be perfect to buy your children. Junk Drummer TV merchandise, and also my signature drumstick made to my specifications. I have the links to all of those in the description. So let's get down to brass tacks. Your kid comes to you and says they want to be a drummer, and you don't know anything about drums or being a drummer, or more importantly, drum equipment. So this video is for you. None of these products are sponsoring my channel. As a matter of fact, no one sponsors my channel. These products that I have picked are things that I have real-world experience in using. And these are the things that I have found that represent the best value in each one of these categories. Now, here's something that a music store salesman is not going to tell you. If you are in a position to spend a lot of money on an instrument, anything that you spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on, it's going to be awesome. At that point, when you're spending that kind of money, it comes down to what you prefer. Every drum company, cymbal company, practice pad company, they all make really good top-end stuff. So if you are in a position this Christmas, and man, if you are, congratulations. But if you are, just buy expensive shit, and it will be perfect for your needs. But this video is for those of us that are on a budget. Here's the thing about having a drum student in your life. Drums are expensive. Cymbals are expensive. Even the cheap stuff is expensive. If your kid is a guitar player, you can get by with a $200 guitar and a $50 amp and a cord and a pick, and they can practice their art. But drums, even the cheap stuff, is still pretty pricey. So I went on the internet and I found all of the products, and let's call it gear. Let's not say products. Saying products makes me feel like I'm on QVC. I found the gear that I have real world experience with, and I found the best deals for them online, and I will have all of those links in the description. But before I go any further, I implore you, I beg you, if you have the ability to go to a local music store, a locally owned music store, and get these items, please do that. Please go support small businesses and privately owned businesses. They've had a rough 3 or 4 years, and they could really use your patronage. If you can, find these items in local stores. Okay, so the first thing that every drum student needs is a practice pad. And there are a million practice pads. And actually, we're going to talk about another really expensive, awesome one later on in this video. But if your child has come and decided that they want to be a drummer, the first thing they need is a practice pad. And there's just a million practice pad deals out there. The one that I found was on Amazon. Again, go buy it from a local store if you can. Does Jeff Bezos need more money? But this is an Acklot practice pad set. And the reason why I like this is it comes with a practice pad and a snare drum stand. That's the most important part about this deal. It has a case, not really necessary. Your student is probably not going to be moving the practice pad around all that much, and a practice pad doesn't need a case. It comes with drumsticks. Those drumsticks are probably garbage, so that's fine. But for $59.99, you can get this deal with a practice pad, and more importantly, the snare drum stand. That makes it easier for the student to set it down in a fashion that mimics a real drum set or a real snare drum. Also, grab a music stand. Any music stand will do. Now, the first drum set that we're going to talk about is the electronic drum set. The biggest question I get from my parents is, we have no idea what we're doing. What does my child need in the way of drum sets? And I ask them, do you have a big house? Do you have a garage, or do you have a basement that is kind of away from everyone else? And if you don't, you want to get an electronic drum set. Now, if you are lucky enough to have the facility to have a really loud real drum set, that's great. But the thing about an electronic drum set is, first, they are as inexpensive as you're going to deal with in this scene, but it also allows the student to practice more. Let's be honest, drums are loud and obtrusive, and that's actually one of the best parts about having a drum set, is that they're loud and obtrusive. But if you don't have the facility to have your real drum set set up, you may be limited in the amount of practice time that you have. Because, man, let's be honest, sometimes mom and dad, or dad, or mom, whatever fucking combination of those, doesn't want to hear really loud drums. So the thing about electronic drums are, you can put them, in the corner of a bedroom, have that student put on some headphones, and all you're going to hear is this, right? So that's why an electronic drum set is advantageous for the first-time drum buyer. The one that I had and owned for a while, and then I sold it to one of my students, is this Alesis Nitro Mesh Kit. I found it on Amazon for $334. Now, I know 66 Samus has been hawking the Donner, but I've never played them, so I can't put my stamp of approval on them, but I did play this one. Those Donners might be great, but this set right here, if you want to have a situation in your house where you don't have to hear loud drums all the time, this is the perfect thing. And for people who live in like apartments and townhouses, this is really the only thing that you can own and still allow that student to practice. Now, if you have a situation in your household that you have a place to tuck your kid away and let them be loud, then you need to get a real drum set, because that's what they're going to eventually perform on anyway. The thing about buying an electronic drum set, if the student sticks with it long enough and gets to a certain level of competence, you're going to have to get a real drum set anyway. So here's the downfall of having a real drum set is it's loud and obtrusive, as we talked about. And if it's in a place where that student is not allowed a lot of practice time, just because, let's be honest, man, if you're living your life inside your house, maybe you don't want to hear a bunch of loud-ass drums being learned. And sorry, I've been a drum teacher for 25 years. If you're not conditioned to it, listening to drums being learned might not be too pleasant. But if you are able to get your kid a real drum set, I suggest the Ludwig Backbeat. The reason why I suggest the Ludwig Backbeat, it was one of my students has one. And when she got it, it had crappy heads on it, and she said it sounded terrible. So I told her we needed to do the standard lesson that I do with all of my students, which is how I teach them how to tune, or at least the way that I tune drums. And I told her to go out and buy like the Evans pre-pack. Here's the thing about this Ludwig Backbeat. It is $499 on Musicians. Friend, if you have a Ludwig dealership near you, and again, if it's a locally owned business, go spend that money there. But this Ludwig Backbeat, it's a 5-piece drum set. It comes with cymbals. The cymbals are garbage. We'll talk about that in a minute. But my student brought in her Ludwig Backbeats, and she got the Evans G1 pre-pack. And we threw those on, and we didn't even replace the garbage resonant heads, and those heads were garbage too. But as soon as we put those Evans G1s on, these drums sounded great. They were $500, and they sounded phenomenal, and so much better than the level that they're at. You know, this is marketed as a student drum set. The Ludwig Backbeats, there might be others that are great too. Well, there definitely are. But I know for a fact, because I've had hands on them, tuned them, and played them, these Ludwig Backbeats is a great deal. Okay, here's the problem between buying cymbals and buying drum sets. You can buy a drum set that's of okay quality that's made with questionable wood and has maybe not the greatest hardware on it. But if you get good drum heads and are able to tune correctly and tune well, you can make them sound good. Now, here's the problem with cymbals, and I apologize to you parents who are tuning in to find out the good stuff to buy your kids here at Christmas time. Cymbals, they have to be expensive to sound good. Cheap cymbals sound terrible. Doesn't matter. I'm going to show my age. Zildjian Scimitars and Sabian B8s and B8 Pros. I think Sabian's now is called the S series. I don't know what the cheap Zildjians are called anymore because I don't have to worry about that because I have good shit. Those cymbals are made with a lesser quality alloy, which is called B8, bronze and tin, whatever the combination of those. I don't know that shit. I only had one science class to get my degree. The Dream cymbals are made of B20 alloy. Don't need to know all that. Just know that B20 is better than B8. They are unfortunately slowly getting more expensive. I remember when Dream first came out and hit the market, and they were all very reasonably priced, and they still are compared to Zildjians and Sabians, but they are getting more expensive. If you are able, and I know this is a big ask, because if you buy a real drum set with this cymbal pack, we're talking about $1,000. And I understand, man, when I was growing up, that was definitely not a possibility for me and my family at Christmas. But if you are able to, I very highly suggest from Sweetwater, the Dream Ignition 3-piece cymbal set. It comes with 14-inch hi-hats, 16-inch crash, 20-inch ride. That is the bare minimum that a student needs to have to start develop their skills. This thing is $479. Now, they have a deal going on, the original MSRP, and I can tell you from being in the business, that is the manufacturer's suggested retail price is $734, right? So this is still a high-end cymbal, but it's not as much as if you were going to buy a Zildjian A or a Sabian HH or AA set. What am I talking about? You're a parent. You're trying to figure out what to buy your student. You don't need to know all that bullshit. If you're a drummer, you know exactly what I was talking about. I was talking to Drummingese there. But yeah, the Dream Ignition 3-piece cymbal set, if you're able to get that with your student who will also have a real drum set, pick that up. So earlier we talked about a practice pad. Now that practice pad was the dead first thing that you need to buy your student. Now, if you are a parent who has a kid, now we're going to talk about some gear for the advanced receiver of the gift. If you have a student, if you have a kid that is in drumline in high school, that practice pad that I suggested before might not be perfect, and matter of fact, is definitely not perfect for practicing for playing, like, say, snare drum, and I should have put a tenor pad in this, but I didn't. But if you have one that is trying to be the center snare and wants to get a better feel at the house, I can't suggest enough, and I only know this because one of my students has one, the Ahead S-Hoop marching pad. Now, if you're in marching band, you'll understand that if you play on a rubber practice pad, it doesn't feel like the Kevlar head that we play in drumline. This thing, other than the Zymox that I have, the problem with Zymox is it was basically a scam. A bunch of people ordered them because they do make really good stuff, but like most people didn't receive their product back. This Ahead S-Hoop marching pad feels like a Kevlar head on a marching snare. I can't rave enough about this product. So if you have a student that is starting to become more of an advanced drumline kid, they have to have this thing. Unfortunately, it is a drum pad that is $83.99. Now, it's from Sweetwater. Sweetwater will make that hurt go away a little bit, spending probably what will be $90 after shipping. They'll sweeten the deal and they'll send you some candy. So that's nice. You'll get candy. Also, Sweetwater will call you once a month. All you need to do is tell them to quit calling and they'll stop. So those were all of the products that I would suggest if you have a new drum student or a newer drum student. But then I thought about there are going to be some parents out there, maybe some girlfriends, who want to buy their loved ones another piece of equipment even though they have a really nice drum set and really nice cymbals and a really nice snare drum. This is kind of my pick for what do you get the drummer that already has everything. And I have one of these. If you have a kid who already has been playing and maybe, gigged a little bit, maybe played in a musical or something, and they have all the stuff that they need to be a working drummer. Here's the thing, Mom and Dad, drummer can't have enough snare drums. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9, and this is one of them. If your student already has a really nice drum set, they probably have a nice snare drum as well, but you always need options in the snare drum world. This is the Pacific wood hoop snare drum, 20 ply maple hoops. This is a maple snare drum. Now this snare drum is made by the same company that I'm talking about here. This is PDP by DW, 20 ply maple snare drum, and it's 5.5 by 14. It's slightly different than the one that I have here. I like my lugs better, but this was back when PDP was called Pacific. That just means I'm old. But the PDP, it's the Concept Maple wood hoop snare drum. It's a unique snare drum. It's almost impossible to make sound bad. You can go back on the last couple videos that I have me playing on the channel. I'm using that snare drum. If you have someone who already has all the stuff, get them this PDP by DW, which is, I guess, what you're supposed to call it now, 20 ply maple hoop snare drum. There's good chance that they don't have one, and it's a fantastic instrument. I hope I was able to inform some parents out there who I know are flying blind when it comes to buying all this drum business. I know that you can go into a music store and get very overwhelmed if you don't know anything about gear. Those are the gear, the products here on QVC. Those are the things that I put my hands on and played and knew that it was a very good piece of gear for the price. I hope this helped you, and if it did, Merry Christmas from Santa Steve. I'll see you next time.